So the next is Sentry Ward. The True Sight AoE has been increased slightly. It's up by
Hmm.
50. So you can now, I've seen a picture, you can deward if you place it by the Roshan, all three ward spots there now.
Okay.
The
Okay,
three
that's
new ward
interesting.
spots. And then it's also, I mean, it's a slight increase.
Yeah,
Just general usage.
The thing I
yeah,
love most about this is that we've seen so many times when people have a ward just at the
Yep.
edge in a competitive
yeah.
game, and I'm like, they'd be like, just there, almost he
Yeah.
can get it. I feel so pity for that
You
guy, you
you
know?
try you tried so hard. You tried. So, yeah. I mean,
Like, it's like, bro, just an inch more, you could have got it.
Oh,
So I like it. I mean,
a
it's not
millimeter
much.
more.
I mean, I think there were a couple of places where you could place a sentry and it would back when it used to be 900, it could hit multiple spots. So I think this does bring a couple of ward places back into the range of the sentry where you can place one and hit a whole area with it.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, I mean it's a
slight nerf to Ricky.
yeah. Well, I get yeah. Ricky yeah. Also techies bounty hunt yeah. It makes a difference certainly to them, but I feel
It's not going to
partly
hurt too much more than anything.
yeah, I don't
It's not
know.
going to do much more than
Yeah.
current.
So Shadow Walk has. So this is Shadow
Shadow
Blade.
Blade,
The basic when you break it, the damage has been increased slightly. So
just another
up by 25.
notification change.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
It's a slight buff to Conquer. Most heroes don't buy because that's the thing. Most heroes now are buying Blink, not Shadow Blade
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah, just because Shadow Blade got over nerfed, I think, with its cooldown. And so people are like, well, it's an expensive folly that can be more easily that can be more easily countered with dust. Because in fact, if you use Shadow Blade, if you get dusted, Shadow Blade is a whole lot worse
Yep.
because you're moving more slowly. So Blink Dagger is just the all-round better option, and it's cheaper.
Yep.
So I think Shadow Blade's going to need a couple of more well-aimed buffs before it becomes a viable alternative. I don't want to see it
Uh,
come back to where everybody and their dog's pet is buying Shadowblade, but I
a
would
dog has
like
a
to see it. Yeah, yeah. I would like
uh,
to see just a couple more
Yeah,
buffs for Shadowblade
I
because
don't
right
feel there's
now it's
any
pretty
hero it's
useless.
particularly maybe Drow, but that's about it. So I think
Like
yeah.
I don't even buy it on profit anymore. Like
Well, yeah, Blink is
why
just. I
would
mean,
I?
most people buy Blink on profit now. It's just a generally better item for almost everything, and I think
Yeah.
yeah, will this make a difference? I don't think so, but I think it will. You know, if somebody was absolutely on the edge, then maybe this will decide them. I don't know. Shiva's Guard have been over this with AC, basically the same.
Yeah.
This is also the next one is also a relatively big change.
This is good.
hmm.
This is quite
Yeah,
good.
so TPs now cost 35 gold less. They're 100 gold each as opposed to 135. Now, this is, I mean, to me, it feels more like a buff to supports more than
Yes.
anything
Yeah,
else.
definitely.
It makes tower diving much riskier because support's going to have TPs up more often. It's less committal from them to deal with it. It also allows you to
Fewer
come in.
GG, yeah, fewer GG branches sold for the extra 25 gold to reach the
I always
town
sold
portal
my two
scroll cost.
tangos or one tango that I hadn't used yet. Um,
Less selling of pots in order to buy
yeah.
scrolls.
Um,
Uh, yeah, it's good. I mean,
yeah.
here's the thing. Of all the other changes that slow down the game, this actually does it speed it up a little bit? Because
I feel it slows it down because it allows you to react to
Defend
pushes
more
earlier. Yeah,
easily.
so you can defend more easily. Both to actual pushes. It allows it MP's still going to be strong and Spectre for the plus ones they bring to fights.
uh-huh.
But it brings that advantage down a little bit because you know the TP scroll by contrast has come up. Just that tiny bit. I feel it will slow down the game because it makes I think TPs are a better defensive item.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think yeah, diving in general now is just such a it's going to be such a bigger decision to make. You know,
Yeah,
with the
And
new
that's why
item.
that's also why I see Crimson Guard as being a good because it's essentially it is a tower diving item. So I think it might bring back hero. It
yeah,
might help bring back heroes like Night Stalker, who is, as I said, he's probably the best tower diving
yeah,
hero.
yeah.
I wonder if there are too many changes to the speed of the game.
I, I,
Towers give less gold.
I feel that we might. I think we are going to be seeing in the next patch something going in the other direction. Towers giving more
Yes.
gold, or towers giving more gold. The fortify lasting less time. So just something that will act against this. But I think
Yes.
that the kill bounty is here to stay. I don't think we've ever had a game where I don't think we've ever had a change to kill bounty, which has been moved, like has been removed. So
No,
I
well,
feel
certainly not in the very next patch.
no, yeah,
Yes.
Like, this is
yes,
only the third change to those calculations that I have seen since I started playing. As I said, I've been playing since 6.54,
yeah,
and this is only the third time I've seen a change like this. So it
absolutely.
doesn't come around very often.
Yeah, these things are there, but they have been coming around more often than
Yeah,
before.
that's what I was thinking. I mean, we had the 2012 TI2 change, then basically post the 6.78, I want to say. So I mean, they're happening more frequently. So I think we will perhaps be seeing more changes like this. But the thing is, they make a massive impact because they change the way the entire game works in terms of efficiency. Um,
Yeah,
so I agree. Maybe we may have gone too far in the other direction. We may have the game may slow down a little too much, or
Yeah.
but yeah, we'll have to see because like I said, without doing a whole heap of maths on the efficiency, it's hard to tell.
yeah.
I mean, we'll
Yeah,
have to see games. We have to play them and see games to notice. But I mean, so many glyphs, more armor, less gold from towers. Town portal costs less. Those are these. None of them is small.
no,
Just one
no,
of them
but
slows
but
down the
but yeah,
game.
by themselves. I mean, the change to mid alone is quite a big change. Um, and you
And we don't know how it's going to play out because there are
exactly
so
yeah.
many new factors. Like, there are factors that are encouraging non-standard heroes. There are factors that are encouraging slightly more mana independent heroes. There are factors encouraging like more aggressive heroes because you can now actually win mid as opposed to the perpetual ties that we have been seeing until now.
Yeah, I mean even mecha now it costs much more. People won't team fight as early.
Yeah.
Mecha does costs more to
There
cast.
might be more, there might be a longer lane ganking period than the fast progression into the team fight period.
Which we've been seeing. Yeah. Um,
So
It'll be interesting to see. One final thing I think is that the damage type changed. I'm just going to brush over these because most of them are fairly irrelevant, but there are a couple I've noticed. So
There's a
basically,
couple of changes that are pretty
yeah,
significant
yeah.
though.
I mean, I'll bring them up, but and just yeah, yell at if there's one I've missed. But basically, Dota 2 is based off Dota 1. No surprises there. Dota 1 is based in the Warcraft 3 engine, which is a clusterfuck of different codes and designs and
Oh
just
yeah.
and damage types in particular are awful. But they've decided to simplify it. So now three types of damage. You've got physical damage, which is reduced by armor. You've got magical damage, which is reduced by magic resistance, and you've got pure damage, which will deal
Is
exactly
reduced
what
by
it says.
neither.
Yeah, it does exactly the amount of damage it says it'll deal all the time. And now magic immunity is spell immunity. Um, that's basically the same. That's just a name change. And so they've
Well,
rebalanced
no,
some.
not exactly.
Oh,
This says it finds if spells interact with it, not how the
yeah.
damage
So it
interacts with
means
it.
if you're magic immune, you can still be sorry, if you're spell immune rather, you're it blocks most spells. Is basically the idea. So I think it pretty much acts the same. It's just that they've split it a little bit to aid understanding
mm,
Yes.
in terms of
So
BKB. Yeah.
yeah, so
Um.
but
BKB is now spell immunity and 100% magic resistance.
Yeah.
yes,
Um.
because
Yep.
if
Sorry.
you can be 100% magic resistant, but you take pure damage anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's the thing that makes it because the I think the important part is this: in the vast majority of cases, interactions are still the same. However, the example case will be different is if an ability has both magic, immunity exception, and pure damage
Yeah.
type.
Yeah.
That would be
Um.
different.
I think that
There's a few important exceptions
I
that
so yeah,
are mentioned.
there are a couple. Alchemist is about the same. Bane's basically the same. Beastmaster is he basically they've reduces damage slightly, but the upside is that his damage
Oh,
has been
physical.
changed to physical, which is actually early on a slight buff. Later in the game, it will fall off a little, and against creeps, it is a nerf. But mid game, it's a buff to him.
Yes.
Brewmaster is basically they've made it so that it's
I'm
exactly
sorry,
the same.
just
Yep,
just want to
sorry.
go back to Beastmaster. I would almost say late game it is a buff because it's no longer composite, so it's only being reduced by armor rather than by both armor and
Yep.
magic
Oh, actually,
resistance.
one thing that is worth mentioning: composite used to have this weird interaction with minus armor in that it didn't get buffed by it.
Increased by it.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
whereas now, because it's all physical, it will actually deal more damage. So for example, Bristleback's Cruel Spray has always dealt physical damage. So I mean, obviously, you notice
Yeah.
that the minus armor improves the damage, or conversely, plus armor reduces damage. Whereas, so basically, all skills that deal physical damage will now work like that. Next is Doom is sort of a damage change slightly. I'm just going to bring up the calculator now. I think that is about the same.
Yeah, basically any
Uh,
spell. I think.
No, it is actually
Yeah.
wait, hold up.
Slight nerf.
Slight nerf. Yeah, you're right. He dealt 12 more damage. With no, hang on.
No, at level 1 he was doing about 22.5 damage. And level when it was magical. Now as Spears is doing 20, so slight difference. Level 2 he was doing 40.
Yep.
Sorry. Was he doing 40? 20? No, that'd be no. He was doing
I'm seeing
37 and a half.
2.5. I'm basically just doing the maths. He's lost 2.5 damage at every level.
Yeah.
Is what I'm
yes.
seeing. Yeah. So
Yeah.
So almost nothing.
yeah. It's 2.5 times. Yeah, I mean,
What was it,
it's about
25 over
20. Yeah,
10
20.
seconds?
It's a bit more than 25.
Actually, that could make a difference in some cases, but most of the time it won't be noticeable.
It's 40 damage. I want to say.
Yeah,
Yeah,
most of the
it is 40.
time.
I mean, that's a difference, but it's a tiny difference, I think.
Yeah.
Yes. It's not much.
Um,
Even the Aghanim's difference isn't that big.
yeah.
No.
I know that the Aghanim's difference is, I'm pretty sure, the same. It's a 2.5. Just looking at it, I did the highest then, and it seemed to be 2.5. So I assume it's the same. Earthshaker is now basically his the initial part of his ultimate no longer goes through BKB. It used to. That's about it.
Mm-hmm.
Midnight Pulse.
The same, exactly
There's
the
no.
same. No change
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah, exactly. Diabolic Edict. Again, there's that same thing with So he's lost a tiny amount of damage. I think it's somebody was like
I think it's now. Yeah, I was
it's like
gonna
it's
say
like
that.
2.5 per level or something.
Well, based on the change to level 2 Doom, which went from 50 to 35, and he lost 2.5.
Yep.
Here he's lost 1.5
Yep.
damage at level 4. So 1.5 damage a tick is
Yep.
literally not going to make any difference to anything, I don't think. But
Well-
and look, it now deals 40% more damage to towers. So
Yep.
Comes out the same.
Lena, same level.
this
but
is actually it's a buff.
Yeah.
Because
it means
well,
that the
basically-
damage is no longer going to be reduced by extra
Yes.
More magic
So-
magic
resistance.
resistance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So because beforehand, what it was magical damage that went through magic immunity. So it was still
Yeah.
being reduced by magic resistance, which meant that her level 3 Ags was dealing 950 damage anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
But now,
Yeah,
Well,
it means that
it'll
if
deal
somebody's got a
950
hood or
if
whatever,
someone's got 25% resistance, like if somebody's got resistance, it's going to do more damage now
Yeah, yeah.
because her Aghanims will no longer get reduced. So
yeah,
it's
Yeah,
still
but
not
it's a slight buff in against somebody
Yes.
with hood or whatever.
No, I don't think it's a slight buff actually.
You know?
I mean, if
It
you
is.
consider it against an anti-mage or a Huskar, it's a big
Actually,
buff.
no,
That's
actually,
true.
especially against Huskar. Actually,
Yeah,
is a good
It's
point.
huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is actually quite a big thing.
Axelina is probably the best counter to Huskar, I would
Yeah.
say.
Well,
Yes.
I mean, the thing is that she's a hero that you can pick anyway, just as a generally okay support. And that gives
she's
her.
okay. She's not great.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's I think the crux of it. She's yeah, okay.
Good against
And
people.
she's got half of her screams core. The other half screams carry.
Yeah,
She's got
she works, but this just gives her a little bit more reason to be picked against
Yes.
in fringe cases, I
Alright.
think.
Yeah.
Next, Lone Druid. This is so basically the Spirit Bear when it dies will now deal 10% of, I assume, his max HP as pure damage
Yep.
instead of the damage it did before, the scaling 100, 200, 300, 400. So
Okay.
It's probably
this
not that big of a. It's probably I'd say this is a buff because at no point have I ever seen base lone druid with 4,000
4,000.
health.
I think he's generally going to be taking less.
Yeah.
But so before it was composite damage.
Yeah, no,
so
that's
it
true.
was,
So it was just by physical.
so it was reduced by quite a lot. And
So
another thing is that who uses
Actually, it
Lone
might
Druid?
might be about the same.
Roughly the same, I think, because yeah, unless you have are we sure it's the hero, not the bear?
that's what I'm thinking. It because if it's the bear, you're always going to be dealing 2,700. I think is the HP of the bear at
Yes.
yeah at max level. So yeah, you're taking 270 pure, which late is probably going to be more than the composite would have done.
But not by
Yes.
much.
No. Yeah. So I have to play around with Spirit with Lone Druid just to check that out. But it might be the bear. In which case, early on it's a buff, I think.
Mhm.
No, actually, early on it would still be a nerf, wouldn't it? Because the bear still has more HP than the 100 you'd take. I want to say.
Yeah, early on it used to do 100 damage composite, which was reduced, but
Yeah.
now level 1 bear is what, 100, 1,400 life, or
I
what
think
was it?
what three? It's more than 1,000, which
Yeah.
means it's going to be dealing
Yeah,
more
so
damage.
it's
Yeah, so you
nerf
actually
early, yeah.
you take more damage early on. You take more. I think it's more you. The damage on it is a bit more constant as opposed to before, where it was like late game. You just did not like you cared that the bear died. You didn't care at all about the damage. It meant nothing.
Oh yeah,
Um,
the Spears Bear is 1,400 level 1.
yeah, yeah.
No,
So,
I don't know. I don't like Lone Druid to begin with.
I don't
so.
play. I mean, it means he's going to take more damage if the bear dies. And I think it's designed to level out some of the other stuff. I think. I'm not
Yeah.
really sure. Yeah. The next is okay. So Necrolite.
This change to me feels like they thought, okay, let's simplify the damage system. Okay, well, first to go is HP removal. Then they get to Necrophos and they're like, oh shit,
Yeah,
forgot about
pretty
this
much.
guy.
Yeah, it's because HP removal doesn't interact with blink and salves and clarities.
Yeah.
Which is fine. And so they've changed some other stuff. All right, that's kind of.
It was fine when they still had HP
But-
removal, but now that they've removed it,
It's like yeah, oh god, this skill is kind of, it would be really obnoxious. It'd be an AOE just in terms of do the same thing as Radiance in terms of canceling blinks, in terms
yeah,
of
it'd be
canceling
a
salves.
level
It just
one. Yeah,
yeah.
it'd be so ridiculous.
So but as is basically the same. Tech is sort of interesting. His scaling's been changed a bit. The damage, basically, his damage is physical. He's going to be dealing more damage if you have Slaughter on your team.
Yeah, and interestingly, his suicide attack squad has actually just been reduced in damage by the equivalent of 1 level.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think. I mean, it's no longer reduced by magic. Yeah. So
It's a buff.
It's a buff to the early game, which is what he wants because it's
Yeah.
because yeah, especially with
It's a
Suicide Squad.
huge buff to the early game.
But late game,
Definitely.
especially you're going up against your edgy carries, you are going to struggle a little bit more. But whatever.
Late game up against
Well,
edgy carries, the only part that's important about suicide attack squad is the suicide part, where
Yeah,
the
that's true.
carry doesn't get the kill and the goal and the experience.
Wait, question: how does composite in any way become better than physical? Because if your composite is already taking magical and physical, so wouldn't late game also be a buff? It was just physical.
Yeah, I think so.
Because
Yeah,
think
because
about it.
composite is reduced
Yeah, no,
by
yeah,
armor.
no, because that's the
Comp-
thing. If you for example, Leshrac, I'm pretty sure would Edict could only deal half damage to people using BKB.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Also,
And
like composite damage was basically physical damage that would then be reduced by your magic resistance
Armor.
on top of your armor.
it
That's
was
what I'm
yes.
thinking that anything that has been changed from combos to physical has been buffed. And
Basically.
Except for against creeps, because except for against creeps, because creeps don't have magic resistance, so it does make a slight. So I remember I saw somebody talking about Beastmaster.
Techies can't clear creep waves as effectively now.
That's part of it. Techies actually against towers is more of a problem. Um,
That's true.
because
No.
yes,
yeah, um,
damage to towers now is that changes, but especially because the towers have more armor.
it's also because his overall damage is being reduced. Because like you look at Leshrac, his damage to towers was buffed, even though the rest of the damage was scaled down. So I think Techies is going to have a net reduction in damage to towers. How much that matters? Again,
And creeps.
and
'Cause
creeps,
as I
yeah,
said, before he could plant one landmine, clear a creep wave. Now he needs two.
yeah.
Same with his Actually, he doesn't say that his remote mines has had their damage
No,
reduced.
that's because they deal magic damage, so it doesn't matter.
Oh, okay. I thought all of his spells were
No,
composite.
no, yeah.
Okay.
Um,
All right.
the next one I think is actually one of the biggest in terms of balance changes. March
It
of the
is.
Machines no longer goes through BKB, or Magic Immunity.
No
Yeah.
longer goes through magic
Yeah,
immunity.
but I mean, I say BKB. Yeah, basically. So that means he can't farm
Can't
most
do
of the
ancients.
ancients. He
And
BK,
can't do mud golems.
he can't do yeah he can't do mud golems,
Which
which
means
is
that which means doing the triple camp spot in the Raiden jungle is slightly more risky because if he gets a double stack of mud columns, that's a wasted stack.
yeah. I mean, also it just takes more time to stack that camp. It also means that coming into fights, March isn't as heinous for the carry. They can actually buy BKB
No.
and not just die.
Yeah.
So you lose a lot of damage in that regard. I mean, this is to me a very big nerf. This is bigger than the other changes that we've seen to the Dagon, to the E-Blade, to the actual hero, like up in the actual hero changes. This is the biggest one.
Yeah, the
Probably.
hero cannot
Yeah.
flash farm anymore. It's like
Or he can flash farm, just not the ancients, which is the most efficient.
Yeah, and the thing,
sorry, not the
yeah,
ancients.
yeah. So just overall, straight nerf. To be honest, I think this kills the hero. The
I
hero.
don't think it kills the hero. What I think it does is it makes him more reliant on jungle stacking and creep pushing. So you'd probably almost be more likely to see a Tinker pickup rather than a Nature's Prophet pickup.
I think
Because because without the ancient stacking, they more or less fill exactly the same role. So, and I think in that role, Tinker offers more than the Nature's Prophet does.
My
So I
issue is
think
now
you'd be
Tinker. If he got into trouble before gold wise, he could always farm the ancients. Like that was one of the things with the hero. He was very difficult to fully lock
Shut down.
down. Yeah. Whereas now suddenly he's a hero who actually has issues.
Mm.
Yeah,
I
but that's what I'm saying. You'd get the supports to stack the jungle instead of stacking the ancients.
the ancients. But I suppose now if you have someone like Alchemist, you can take the ancients, you take the others. You can't be too greedy.
Yeah,
That's all.
that's a good point.
It gives the hero a lot less utility in terms of how he can farm. He's still a hero that if you get farm on him, he's really strong. But I think he's going to struggle to get to that point now, much more than he did in the past.
Even
As
even
I don't.
his-
I
Sorry,
was gonna say,
I was gonna
I
say.
don't think yeah. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. I was gonna say even if you get him as strong as the same amount of farm, he's just not as good.
in,
Dagon's
in
weaker
team
and
fights
inferior.
especially, yeah. Because the carry, he's no longer BKB shuts him, like he can't do anything against BKB now. Whereas before, March was screwing you even if you had the BKB up.
But then
Yeah.
here's the thing: BKB got nerfed.
Yeah, no,
So
I think the net thing is that Tinker not being able to go through BKB is more important than BKB being reduced.
oh yeah. No.
So
But what I mean is that late game March lasts a lot longer
oh yeah,
than
but
the late game BKB charge will. So I think he will rise late game
The
a bit
occasion.
because
Yeah.
of that. But I also think that I don't think it'll kill the hero necessarily because you can go for the Battle Tinker with the Aghanim Scepter, which would be obnoxious in team fights. You're rearming 4 rockets
I want to see
every
it. I
2
want to
or
see
1 second. So that's going to be a thing, I think, because it basically means he will now operate with a lot less farm if they go for that build.
Mhm.
Like he won't actually
it.
need
Yeah,
as much farm in
I
this
think
new
what's
patch
key. I think what's
because
key in
of the
that is that
change in the way he
That's
plays.
important though, because like you're saying, it doesn't need as much farm because he can't get as much farm. Is the big thing from this
Yes.
change. Tinker was less than MP, but still kind of similar in that he the reason he scared was because he could suck all of the gold out of the map and
Yeah.
become this huge beast. It wasn't that his skills are okay; they're not fantastic. It was that he was so efficient with once he got a couple of items into him. But before he gets those items, he's actually not that good. He needs like Boots of Travels has to be bought on him for him to work. The Boots of Travels blink. Without those two items, he's not fantastic. And so the fact that it's going to take him longer, I think, will make him drop off in terms of how well he's played.
But I think now that his obnoxious ability to flash farm is gone, I think he will still be in a way equally as strong. Just he'll need to be played in a different style to
Yep.
achieve that strength. So I think
Mhm.
once he's got his travels, blink dag, and Aghanim scepter, I think he'll be able to output almost as much damage, if not even more, than he can now because just those rockets, man.
I want to believe.
Like
Um,
it's going to, that is literally going to slaughter the other team's supports. No question. You're
his thing.
putting out
I
four
agree, but
rockets.
at the same time, like he could have done that before, and he like
He could have,
it's
but the problem is that it's not as that's not as efficient
He
as
had
what
better
he can do now
options.
because
yeah.
he can. Yes, exactly.
No,
But
no, but
now that he
the thing is,
doesn't,
that's exactly what I'm
I
saying. Like
think
you're saying, acronyms is going to be good. I agree. I think acronyms will be now something that more players will be thinking about if they're playing Tinker. But I just don't think that Tinker is going to be played in competitive now, just because
as I
he's
said,
going
I
to be.
still think that he's he's now moved from the tinker niche, which is the look at me, I am a god,
Yep.
into the
Uh-huh.
same niche as what Nature's Prophet does. But I think within that niche, Tinker does that job slightly better. He may not be able to push structures as fast now, but neither can Nature's Prophet. And so the extra utility that Tinker has that Prophet doesn't means that I think that any team that was thinking of picking up a Prophet would actually be better off picking up a Tinker.
Yep. Okay. So the next is Venge. So her Wave of Terror now does pure damage instead of
Let's
HP
remove.
removal. Now
That only
but
makes one
Pots and
difference.
Blink.
she can get rid
Pots
of
and
blink.
Blink.
That's the main thing. So it gives her
And
a
Pots.
and
Early
yeah
game.
and yeah. So it gives her actually quite a bit of utility in lane. You can't heal against her, and it also means that I mean Wave has quite a long range. It means if she scouts you. You then can't initiate on them. The enemy has the advantage for the next 3 seconds in that you've stopped them from initiating. Um, so yeah, you can
And
plan a bit more effectively.
escaping.
Yeah. So you can plan a bit more effectively. But so it's I know a slight buff to the hero. I think is is there anything that I think you think really needs discussion? Because I think it's fairly basic.
No, I think it's an all round good
Yep.
buff.
Yes. I think it makes her, yeah, more lane utility. I didn't think about lane utility, to be honest. I was just thinking about Blink, but I was like, oh yeah, it does
Yeah.
cancel salves and clarities now. That's
That's nice.
something.
Yeah.
Mm.
The next is Warlock. Then, if we want to move on. Basically, so Fatal Bonds before used to do like if I Fatal Bonds Dotamo and Captain
Why
Planet.
me?
Well, and Captain Planet, there's two of you, right? And then I punched you in the face, right? Um, yeah, you would take HP removal. So basically, the damage you took would your the damage you took would be reduced by your armor. So I punch you for 100 damage. Your armor reduces that to 80 damage. Captain
Okay.
Planet would then take 80 damage as HP removal. Now the way it works, if I understand it correctly, is I punch you in the face, Automo, for 100 damage. Your armor
Uh-huh.
reduces it down to 80 damage. Sorry, for 100 damage. Your armor reduces down to 80. But at the same time, the Fatal Bonds now shares my attack. So at the physical damage over to Captain Planet. Now, if Captain Planet has 30 armor, that his my attack might be reduced down to only 20 damage. But at the same time, if his armor is lower than yours, he's now going to be taking more damage. And then on top of that, the damage percentage has been buffed by 5%.
I think I may have misunderstood it before. I used to think that, from what I understood, is that okay, punching.
Yep.
Thank you. If someone took damage, first it gets reduced, then
Yep.
gets redistributed to the other person, which then reduces it again. That's what I
No,
used.
no. Yeah,
No.
basically it was on like it's pretty much it's a change to how the reduction is handled, and The other thing that is sort of important is that the Warlock Golem's fists will no longer the damage from that no longer goes through magic immunity, which is actually quite big because that was a big part of Warlock's damage. But
Yeah,
at the same
I'm
time,
not.
yeah,
I'm not sure that's that nerf was necessary because he's already had the initial damage of the golem impact remove. That was 400 damage with
yeah.
a
Yes.
refresher
And I
that
think
was
the thing that's
gone.
important to consider is also the fact that if Warlock punches a group of people, two of them have BKB, if and the other two don't. Before, the two that didn't have BKB, they'd share the damage from the swipe, whereas now they're not going to share that damage to the BKB heroes because the damage being dealt doesn't go through BKB. They're not going
Mhm.
to take the additional damage. So
Yeah. Actually, here's a question.
actually,
I'm
does
just
that matter though?
trying to find was Fatal Bonds one of those things that now gets dispelled? Because I'm not sure if Fatal Bonds is
I
dispellable.
think when I think about it now, I was saying that, and I was like, actually, no, I think that it got removed by BKB anyway. So
Does it?
uh,
Used
search
it used
search it if you want, but yeah.
it
I
used
just
to
had a look up.
be
So yeah, go on. Ottoman.
deal HP removal, so it didn't cancel salves and stuff like that.
Oh, no, yeah, no. Actually, no. That's another thing. In lane, that makes Warlock even more obnoxious.
Yeah.
If
Ma-
people
Well,
ever take
he
it.
already had a
Yeah,
pretty
no, that's true.
bad lane.
Yeah,
Let's be honest. He was already a bad laner. Like Fatal Bonds was, it's good, but it's expensive.
yeah.
Harass and it's not very efficient. Shadow Word is also horrendously inefficient for its cost and what it actually does. Like I
He's the upheaval hero. That's basically it.
the upheaval and golems to
Yeah,
your face hero.
yeah.
Yeah.
So next
I think
is yeah.
I
No, go on,
think
yeah.
Warlock will need. I think his golems will need some slight damage buffs because of this
I
change.
I
Just
I
because
do
they're not
sort
going
of
to be
agree with
putting
that.
out as
Yeah.
much damage.
Um. Yeah. So Necro is I think exactly the same. They've just basically changed it to magical damage.
Uh,
Oh,
actually,
actually, no.
slight
Again, yeah.
change.
Again, it's like Huskar or Anti-Mage, and it's a little bit weaker against them. Oh, against Huskar,
Uh,
very much
Yeah.
weaker. But yeah.
yeah,
No,
it
no,
actually does a
it's yeah,
tiny bit more
it
damage,
was
level 1 and 2.
Oh, does it?
yeah, it was
Yeah. No,
strong
you're right.
against
Actually.
anti-mage and Husker because it was pure damage, but now that it's magical damage, it's a lot weaker against them, and
Yeah.
especially
So I was
against
just looking at.
Husker.
Yeah. So it does 12 more damage at level 1, and
Level 2. Both of them do more damage,
yeah,
50 more
and
damage.
six
So,
more. Yeah, 6 more damage. So a little bit more.
Mm.
but
Next is
level.
wait,
Okay.
yeah, at level 3 it does exactly the same. To my understanding.
Hmm.
Yeah. So I think we basically discussed this with Lena. It'll change. It'll be well. This is basically the opposite of Lena. It'll be worse against certain heroes,
Yeah,
but for the most part, I think Lena is probably Necro is actually probably more relevant. So it might hurt. I mean, it might hurt a bit more. But I think Necro's issue are changed more by the meta than by this specific change.
yeah,
Um,
Yes.
Next is Earn. So Earn now does pure damage.
same as
Which is actually quite good. Because this is an 8 second buff dealing damage. 8 seconds, the enemy can't blink. So 11 seconds because of the cooldown.
and
Um,
I can't use pots
they can't use. They
to
can't.
counter
Yeah,
it.
I think more importantly, if you earn somebody, they can't earn themselves.
Yeah, that's true.
Um,
Oh, yeah.
because but yeah, in the past, that would work because I believe because
The
the
damage from Earn is also it's pretty rubbish.
yeah, well, I mean,
it's been reduced.
the damage is bad, so I think it basically means that there's more reasons to use it outside of like just getting that kill when somebody gets away with 2 HP. Um,
Mm.
this just ensures, like, it actually means that it has decent utility. Earn's already a strong item. This pushes it, I think, into very, very good tier. All right, so that's it for items. Everything else now heroes. So
Wait. Heroes. I don't think I can do heroes. Like, I mean, it's been almost like, what? Yeah, 2.5 hours.
yeah, I know
Maybe
that's
we
what I
can
was
do
thinking.
heroes.
Yeah, do you want to do that tomorrow?
Yeah.
All right, yeah. So we'll
I
be
can
back
do it.
on. Well, do we want to do it with all three? If we do it at the same time tomorrow, because we'll be here for a while.
Okay, do you guys want? We can do it sooner tomorrow. We can do it sooner tomorrow.
If you,
No big deal.
yeah. So if you, okay, we'll be on sometime tomorrow. So look for that's as specific as I can be at the moment. So look
Yes.
for us then. We do thank you for tuning in, and as always, thank you and good night.
Good night.
Good night.